Hello, everybody. Welcome to the GSMC Hoops and Heels Women's Sports Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. My name is Samantha Genzer. I'm going to be your show host for you guys. We have a very exciting show for you guys. We have a lot of things to cover because there was a lot of women's sports that happened this weekend. I am so sorry. I was having technical difficulties in the beginning. I don't know if you guys noticed, but the intro video was glitching really bad. I'm hoping that my frame is still not glitching. If it is, let me know. So today we are going to be covering Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese's first matchup, a recap of the U.S. Women's Open, the Xfinity U.S. Gymnastics Championships, a recap and predictions for the Women's Softball World Series, and make sure you stay till the end to hear about the results from the CrossFit semifinals in the North America East region. Before we begin, I wanted to ask you guys to like and follow our show and to become a part of our show to tip and donate using the link gsmcpodcast.net. This also puts your questions at the top of the list so that we see them and they get answered and right on the air. So if you want to make sure that happens, use the link. Also, this does really help us a lot and we do really appreciate you guys' your support. Once again, the link is gsmcpodcast.net. Okay, now let's get started. I hope you guys enjoy today's content. Okay, first segment, we have two things to discuss about the WNBA. We're going to talk about the game between Chicago Sky and Indiana Fever, where Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese went head-to-head. And then we're going to talk about the new league by Napheesa, Collier, and Breanna Stewart called Unrivaled. We're just going to talk about that really quickly. So let's get started on the main topic with the WNBA today, talking about the Sky v Fever game. The game ended in a score of 71-70 with the Fever winning. This was a huge win for the Fever. They haven't had a great record so far, as we know, so this is really great for them to get a win. But this game was particularly interesting because, boy, it got heated and physical. It was a full house at the Cambridge Fieldhouse in Indianapolis for the first WNBA match between Reese and Clark, and they picked up right where they left things off in college regarding their rivalry. So in the third quarter is where things got super heated. In the third quarter, Clark was waiting for an inbound pass, and out of nowhere, Chennedy Carter shoved Clark hard enough to send her crashing into the floor, and then Reese was on the bench at the time, but jumped up out of her seat, applauding in response to the foul. The two guards have been going back and back for a few possessions earlier in the frame, but there was no apparent reason for Carter to escalate the situation to such a hard foul. The referees briefly reviewed the incident but did not upgrade it to a flagrant foul or technical. They did, however, deem it an away from the play foul because it had happened before the ball was inbounded, if that makes sense. After the game, Carter refused to answer questions about what happened. Clark, for her part, called it, quote, not a basketball play during her in-game interview between the third and fourth quarters and didn't have much more to say following the game. Clark did, however, expand on her feelings about the overall physicality she's dealing with to start her career. Earlier in the week, she expressed frustration with what she views as a double standard when it comes to contact from opponents. In the week of the dust up with Carter, she gave some insight into how she tries to handle those events during the games, and she said, and I'm quoting, "It is what it is. I feel like I'm just doing at the point where you accept it and don't retaliate. Just let them hit you, be what it is. Don't let it get in your head and know what's coming. I think at this point, I know I'm going to take a couple hard shots a game, and that's what it is. I'm trying not to let it bother me and just stay in the game and stay in what's important, because usually it's the second person that gets caught if you retaliate or something. I'm just trying to stay in the game and focus on my team and focus on what's important." And then, in response to this entire foul, Fever head coach Christy Sides called Carter's foul unacceptable on social media and said something has to be done. Now, I agree. This wasn't a basketball foul, if that makes sense. This seemed more personal rather than just a foul. It seemed quite unnecessary. It just was really shocking. And it does seem that Caitlin Clark was getting targeted in this instance because everything was fine before this, and then it just was this huge foul that just an elbow, it just didn't make sense, and it seemed very personal rather than a basketball play or just being aggressive while playing. This was just completely different, I felt like, and it was quite shocking. Now, I do want to touch on some other points from the game. So back to the game. After the Fever built a 9-point lead late in the fourth quarter, it seemed they would coast to victory. Instead, the Sky came storming back and had a chance to tie the game in the closing seconds when Marina Mabrey was fouled by Melissa Smith. But Bray only made one of her 2 free throws, however, and the Fever ran out of the clock on the other end to ensure they escaped. Clark, who made her first 2 3-pointers but went cold the rest of the way, finished with 11 points, 8 rebounds, and 6 assists. She got plenty of help in this one as Kelsey Mitchell led the team with 18 points, Smith went for 17 points and 9 rebounds, and Aaliyah Boston added 10 points, 8 rebounds, and 4 blocks. Now on the other side, Angel Reese just missed out on a double-double and registered 8 points and 13 rebounds. Carmela Cardoso, who was making her return from a shoulder injury she suffered in training camp, was limited to 18 minutes but was highly efficient when she was on the floor. She went for 11 points and 6 rebounds on 5 of 7 shooting. This guy got a nice boost from Kennedy Carter, who came off the bench to put up 19 points and 6 assists. At the end of the game, Clark joined Sabrina Ionescu as the only players to tally at least 150 points, 50 rebounds, and 50 assists in their first 10 games. Due to injury, it did take Ionescu 2 seasons to accomplish that, but Clark is the first player to do it all in her rookie campaign. Clark is up to 169 points, 54 rebounds, and 65 assists for this season. The Fever have played more games than any of their team, so it is hard to compare stats to other players, but it is still impressive how successful she has been. I don't know. I am very shocked by the whole entire foul situation, and what also makes me quite shocked is the fact that Angel Reese stood up and clapped for her teammate. It just seemed very unprofessional. It was like, really, like, what are we doing here? I was quite disappointed how this game went in the end, just because, I mean, I think it was a good win. It was a good game, but I'm just disappointed in how some people reacted to the foul and how the foul went, like all of that, and also the fact that the referees I feel like they didn't do enough, really. I could spend an entire hour talking about this game, to be honest, but I also wanted to touch a little bit more on Camila Cardoso because this was her first actual season game. She had an impressive start to her first preseason game, but, she had to stop playing due to a shoulder injury, and then the team then announced that she would be out for the next 4 to 6 weeks, but thankfully, she beat her timeline and made her debut at Saturday's game. She played 18 minutes, like I said, and she did really well, especially considering she just got back from an injury. Late in the first quarter, Cardoso jumped above everyone else to grab a lob pass from Carter under the basket. Cardoso just missed 2 shots all game, finishing with 11.6 rebounds. So she did really good. She really, really impressed me with her play. This was her first time coming back, and her first rookie debut game, even though it seems like so late into the season to say it's a rookie debut, but it is technically. This game was very heated. I feel like there was some passion behind every single player in a way, if that makes sense. But I could keep talking about this. I would love to. But we're now going to transition to talking about some happier news here in the world of professional basketball. So, Breanna, Stewart, and Napheesa Collier, 2 former UConn players, formed a 3-on-3 league called Unrivaled, which is set to debut in January. All salaries are meant to be 6 figures, which will make this league the highest average salaries in women's professional sports league history, and players will also have an equity stake in the league. Stewart said that compensation was key for players, many of whom have spent their offseason overseas supplementing their WNBA incomes. The average WNBA base salary is about $130,000, with the top stars able to earn more than $500,000 through salary, marketing agreements, and an in-season tournament and bonuses. The league, which was first announced last summer, will run for 8 weeks with the 30 players divided into 6 teams. The squad will play 2 games a week, with the contest taking place on a court about 2/3 the size of a WNBA one. The teams will stay the same throughout the season. Games will be 4 quarters long with less time in each quarter than a WNBA contest. Unrivaled president Alex Bazell said the rules will be released later, so hopefully we'll be, getting all that soon. The rosters will also be announced later, and that is probably what I'm most excited to hear about. But Stewart and Collier, they both said that a few WNBA All-Stars have already signed on. Players will be housed about 15 minutes from the facility, which is a sound stage in Miami that's being built up. Collier also said that there will be weight rooms and recovery rooms so players can take care of themselves. And the league also added a strong group of investors to fund the launch. They include Carmelo Anthony, Alex Morgan, Megan Rapinoe, Michelle Y. West, Ashton Kutcher, Steve Nash, and Gino Aroma. Stewart said that the league has come a long way since the initial dinner 2 years ago when the idea of the league was first pitched, I guess. Collier said, and I'm quoting, "Compensation is a huge part of Unrivaled as a league and a business. All the players in this first year will have equity in the league. For players to have a piece of the pie, essentially to grow their general wealth, is something we're really excited about." And then Stewart said, "It's amazing not only for the salaries to be similar or more than your WNBA salary, but to be able to build brand partnerships that can't come into the W or the NBA. It's more than just an initial salary, but showing these companies who you are as a player." And then later she also said, "There's nothing not to like about it. The only thing people are scared of is that it's its first year." And yeah, that's true. I mean, everybody's going to have their worries considering this isn't its first year, of course. But I'm excited to see how this league goes, and I'm hoping that we get to know more information about it soon. There hasn't been much released about it considering like rosters and all of like the intricate details. So once we get that out, I'll definitely make sure to keep you guys in touch with that. It's very, very big news for the WNBA. I think this will be a great opportunity for people during the off season to practice with their teammates and with other teammates as well. So we're now going to move on to our next segment where we'll talk about the US Women's Open. Before we get into that, we are going to be taking a very short break. So I will see you guys very soon.